Welcome to Ask An Innovator. My name is Cole. I have an amazing guest for you today. I am very revved up for today's guest. You might say I have had the choke wide open while warming up for this interview. In the next half hour or so, we are going to break late and lean heavily into the corners. See, there are some motorsports references here because Larry Lage and I are going to open up the throttle on what it takes to grow a business. Larry might know a thing or two about motorsports. Larry also knows a thing or two about growing a business from a few hundred to a few thousand square feet. I have watched your business grow. And in turn, believe it or not, Larry, you have helped me grow. So let's throw a leg over this bad boy and get right at it. Larry, you own the iconic Excaliber Motorcycle Works here in Thunder Bay. What is the best part of operating and the worst part of operating a business in Thunder Bay?
Oh, like don't ask a loaded question.
No, we got to start out, we got to get like right to it.
Okay, the best part?
Best part.
The best part. For anybody that's a motorsports enthusiast, especially if you follow it all, you know, you race, you ride, all that, it's great because I get to work in what I like, right? I mean, I'm not saying that welding pieces of steel together isn't rewarding or, you know, drilling rivets into an airplane frame isn't rewarding. That's all cool and everything.
Sure it is.
But I don't know. I mean, really, what I get to do is what I love. So it's really one hand washes the other. I mean, it just works out really well.
I love it. So I'm going to get back to the question, but
Cool.
you just got me thinking about something right now because what you just said to me was what you like to do and what you're good at are usually one and the same. So obviously, with this TV show, we like to talk a lot about the mind, body, and soul of innovation, what it takes to be an entrepreneur. We're going to get into that a little bit later.
Sure.
But do you find that your passion and your job are one and the same? Do you love what you do?
Yeah, because I don't actually have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a job to me. Like people will come in and talk to me and they'll ask, hey, how long have you been in business? Oh, 28 years.
Yeah.
I haven't really worked in 28
Right.
years.
I love
Do you know
it.
what I mean?
I completely know what you mean.
Right. So it's still a job. There's still headaches and all that stuff. But the upside of it is that I get to work in the segment of life that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Could you work for somebody? Could you have a job? Could you go to work at the post office? I don't know.
Probably because I mean, doing a good job is part of my nature. It's part of who I am, and that part of it would always be there.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd want to though. So if given the choice, no, I'm going to work for myself.
Right. So
Right.
live your life, live your dreams, have your cake, eat it too.
Yeah, I assume it's rare because I had a normal job like everybody else before. I worked for a living, right? I worked for other people. And when I started making my own decisions and I started working for myself, it was very different because I'm completely 100% responsible for the failure. I don't know about the success part. I don't think I'm that responsible for that. That just sort of like followed me along.
Right.
But the failure part, I mean, and what I mean by responsible is when the bank's knocking on the door, you better have that payment that month, or you better be able to come up with the payroll for your staff or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're 100% responsible for the failure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love that and you know, this is the kind of the stuff that we get to usually later in the show, but you and I can connect on this, so we're just going to go with it.
For sure.
The fact is that people look at a lot of business owners, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, and they think that it's just all happening. There's not a lot going on behind the scenes. You know, they're not month to month or day to day, right? and you've grown 28 years from a couple hundred square feet now to a few thousand, well, more than a few thousand square feet in altogether. I mean, those early days compared to where you are now, month to month, day to day.
I'll tell you what, the first 5 years, if you're going to do one of these things, go into it expecting to accomplish nothing for the first 5 years.
5 years.
Because if you don't have a game plan for living as close to the chest as possible and keeping your expenses down and making all that work, you're never going to make it.
No.
Right? Because the minute you start stepping past that, it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
After 5 years, for me, then it all started falling into place.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, banking institutions, things like that start taking you more seriously because you're established and you've been there a while, and they know you're not going to run.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's always the other thing is the cut and run. Like, oops, it's not looking good. Oh, well, I better just drop everything and split. Well, how many people do that, right?
Well, I'm in the restaurant business, so every day.
Well, your industry has a bad reputation for
does.
that, right?
Yeah, really, it does.
And it does, and it's too bad. We shouldn't even be laughing about it.
No, what else are you gonna do, really?
We have so many friends, both you and I, that have been in it, and some have gone well, but a lot of them haven't, right?
Yeah.
So
the 5-year rule, that's really interesting. The 5-year rule is almost like business startup 101. You hear it all the time. Did anyone teach you the 5-year rule, or is that something you just kind of had to learn and then in retrospect look at and go, hey, it was really true. The 5-year thing is really true.
Yeah, I'd heard it mentioned, but I'm naturally freaked out by that type of thing anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, was I gonna expect that there would be big returns within that 5-year span? I would have liked it, but I didn't go into it expecting it. So I don't know if that answers the question. But
yeah, no, absolutely it does. I mean, we always kind of hedge, especially now with social media and the internet and the access to information. 28 years ago, when you started Excaliber, you were on May Street, I think. And
South May.
South May Street.
Yeah.
Represents South May Street.
The last building on May Street heading south.
Heading south.
That was me.
So literally South May.
Southwest May.
Yeah. When I drive by that piece of road, that area still for me represents Excaliber. That I have a lot of fond memories about your shop, 20 years ago, and it still represents a very special kind of little corner of the world, South May.
It was a beautiful little community back then.
Yeah.
It was really small. There was a few businesses that were all close together. Danchuck was around the corner, and there was a credit union on the corner right where the Robbins Donuts is.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was really kind of neat, and I miss it too. I mean, the early days of that. Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
But sorry.
No, yeah. So I was just going to say, so bringing it back to Thunder Bay a little bit, just before we go to the commercial.
Sure.
Bringing it back to Thunder Bay. So now you've been in Fort William for a long time. So you're not are you a Fort William guy? Is this like a fair
I'm not
thing?
specifically from here.
Yeah.
So I wasn't either or.
Right.
But when I originally moved to Thunder Bay in '79, I lived in Westport.
Okay.
But I hung out with people from Port Arthur.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Jellicoe.
Jellicoe.
No kidding. Yeah,
I love it.
Really.
That's great. I just like saying Jellicoe.
There's 150 people there when I was in my teenage years. There was about 150 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is completely amazing.
And that was in the 70s for anybody who wants to figure out how old I am.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you've been running a business for 28 years, so.
Yeah, 28 years.
Yeah, unless you started it at 10, you'd be the.
No, I was 29.
29.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So you went from a couple hundred square feet, now you're at a few thousand, couple 10,000 square feet, kind of.
Well, yeah. Originally, the original location probably had about 1,200 square feet of total usable space. But the retail area, if you remember, right, that long, skinny showroom, that was maybe 300 square feet, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, now the whole building's 6,000 square feet, and then showrooms maybe 3,000. So there's a lot more going on now, yeah.
There is a lot more going on. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what's going on. We're going to talk a little bit about the challenges around building a business. We already talked about facing some fears and some challenges. We talked about paying the bills. When we come back, Larry's going to dive a little deeper into the mind of an innovator. Be right back. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. I have Larry from the iconic Excaliber. It's actually not called iconic, but I tend to think that it is. Excaliber Motorcycle Works. So I have a quote to start out the next segment. We're going to talk a little bit about all of the cool stuff that you do, all of these bikes that you ride, and these amazing stories, some of the travels that you've been on. I love how you've managed to dovetail your personal life and your business life, because I think we can all agree they're one and the same. And like we talked about, it's why we do it. So here's a Valentino Rossi quote. MotoGP world champion. He's like the best guy on a bike. Riding a race bike is an art, a thing that you do because you feel something inside. I race to win. If I am on a bike or in a car, it will always be the same outcome. I must try to win. I would have probably stolen cars. It would have given me the same adrenaline rush as racing a bike. If you weren't racing a bike, traveling the world on a bike, what would you be doing?
Stealing cars. No.
Awesome. I really hope I set you up for that answer, and clearly I did.
Well, it's funny because Valentino Rossi, he is by far the greatest motorcycle racer possibly of all time.
Right.
At least of my generation.
Sure.
Right? Anyway, and of the life we live today.
Yeah.
But so the stuff that comes out of him, you never know what he's going to say. Right? So him saying that he would be stealing cars, I could see that. I could see him in Italy up in the mountains, you know, with a stolen Fiat or whatever he's going to be doing.
Yeah. Just stealing cars.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I was looking up quotes, Valentino Rossi quotes, I knew that you liked Valentino Rossi, so it was an easy target to find a quote. And wow, the Valentino Rossi quotes are up there with like Mandela, and I don't think I can say that, but I mean, there's a lot of them.
There are, and his mannerisms and his actions, and that's what's endeared him to the motorcycle viewing public, like to the people that follow the sport.
Yeah.
Has been all of that. It's his personality, but you can't figure Valentino Rossi out one way. You can't divide him up and go, this is what does it. Probably this will tie into what we're talking about too, right?
Sure.
There is no one thing.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, sorry, I don't want to steal it from you.
No, this is your show.
No, it's your show.
Valentino Rossi rides bikes really, really fast.
Yes.
He's a young man. He's now in his late 30s, probably. You ride bikes really, really fast, and you travel the world riding bikes really, really fast. Tell me about a few places you've been to on your motorbike.
Well, I mean, I've been to where I really like. How about that? Like, I really like riding in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, and I really like riding. I like riding everywhere. I like riding in the United States. I like riding in South America. It doesn't really matter to me where I am. The effect is the same.
Yeah.
So the spirit of it is the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It would be different than, okay, I'll tell you what I really like about Europe. It's really, really organized.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are. It's extremely organized. When people are in the left lane, this is a bad Thunder Bay topic.
No, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. No. Let's let it out.
Shall we?
Have at it, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
When people are in the left lane, okay, they're traveling faster than the people in the right lane.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's always going to be an issue here because no one really understands it here.
No, they don't.
The people that do, and you see them, they're the guys.
And they're frustrated clearly because no one else gets it.
Right, they're the guys frustrated.
Right.
You know, and the person in the left lane driving along has no idea. So on a motorcycle, you've got, they're smaller and you have more access, so you can get around them.
Yeah.
So here you wind up having to drive around the right or ride around the right. In Europe, that doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
It's super organized.
There's a code.
There is. You pull up behind them, they see you there, they move over, you go by, right?
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
The unwritten rule.
Yeah, and that's super
rules
cool.
of the road.
So I like that.
Yeah.
So as far as being in other places, like, you know what I've never done is I've never ridden a motorcycle where you drive in the other lane or you ride in the other lane. So I've never done that.
Saying like Great Britain or on the other side, the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, not on purpose.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, not on purpose.
Right.
So riding a motorbike as much as you have, and you've got, I mean, probably hundreds of thousands of kilometers on the saddle underneath you. Do you realize riding a motorbike how bad drivers are? Because motorcyclists are more acutely aware, I think, of what's going on just by nature of how small your vehicle is.
Yeah, I do. And it depends where I am. Because if you're driving a car very slowly, you can still do it badly.
Yeah.
And you'll see that a lot. And you can drive a car a little more quickly and be more into it, and you can do it well. So yeah, I mean, you're at the mercy of that. But if you go to, I'm trying to think of somewhere that was really, really crazy. Guayaquil, Ecuador.
Right.
That place is unbelievable. You're actually touching the cars. So it's so cluttered up as you come into it, the city tightens up, and it just becomes this mess. But it's not really. When you watch it, you see the rhythm, and everyone lets you in, you know, and even if you were to like almost touch a car, that's okay, right? Nobody gets freaked out.
Right.
And because of that rhythm and that understanding, traffic actually flows.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I
mean, that's
mean,
really interesting. So you own an amazing motorsports business. You sell motorbikes, you service motorbikes, all kinds of cool side-by-sides, sleds, you know, all kinds of neat hot rod kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Your extracurricular time, which you seem to enjoy and you take advantage of, you've worked hard, the fruits of your labor, you get on a motorbike and travel the world on a motorbike. Recently, you had a trip somewhere, and you rented a Ducati in some far-flung place. How do you go about? Was it Guatemala or was it Ecuador?
No, it was Ecuador.
It was Ecuador. So how do you piece this together? How does someone from Thunder Bay manage to get to Ecuador and get on a Ducati?
Okay, so what happened was, it was a sunny day. No,
Yeah.
I contacted a motorcycle rental agency down there,
Yeah.
and I just got talking to the
Found
guy.
them on the internet?
Yeah, I just got
Yeah.
talking to the guy and called him up. And usually that's what I'll do, because email's good and it's great for transferring information around, but it's not very personal. And you don't get a feel for people that way. So I called him up and we talked. And he was also an ex-motorcycle racer like me, so he thought this was great. And so when I went down there, I had a KLR 650 rented, which is a giant dirt bike for anybody that doesn't know. It's like a touring dirt bike, right? Made by Kawasaki. And he had rented it for the last 2-3 days that I was there. He had rented it to somebody else. So he said to me, hey, since we're having so much fun doing this, do you want to take my Ducati Diavolo? Right? I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So next thing you know, him and I are whipping around up there, and we went up to the Amazon basin, and it was pavement, and that's why we were able to do this.
Yeah.
Right? But just to connect with him, because we're so similar. Most people that do what I do, we're the face of the business.
Sure.
But we have to be able to have these experiences in order to be the business.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
in the business I'm in, put it this way,
Right.
it would be like you. I go meet the Cole of wherever, some other city, right? And I walk into his restaurant and I go, so you're a vegetarian, but you sell meat.
Sell steak, yeah.
Right.
Right.
It would be like that.
Yeah.
So there's too much of that in my industry already where to get to a reasonably big size where you can make a living at it and have some employees, they're often bean counters, right? It's someone who buys in because it's a good business idea, right? And this is a problem.
This is a problem.
Because there's no credibility in it then.
Authenticity.
Yeah, it's
Passion.
It's a completely false
Yeah.
way of presenting it, right? So then you have to present written facts and all these other things that aren't really real. They're not your experiences. They're a piece of paper's experiences, right?
Yeah.
So I've tried to live my life completely different from that. And I don't even try. I actually just do this naturally.
Because you love it.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Amazon Basin on a Ducati. Let me think. Is there anyone else I know that's been to the Amazon Basin on a Ducati? No. You're the only one. And you're from Thunder Bay. We have a real entrepreneur. Larry touched on passion. He touched on authenticity. He touched on what it takes to really lay down the foundation of an actual real business. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit about social media. Stay right with us. Be right back. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. We've talked about the Amazon Basin. We've talked about Ducatis, fear, vulnerability, cash flow, building a business, growing a business. Larry, do you advertise on social media?
Probably.
You might.
We probably do.
Not sure.
I'm not sure because, okay, we might as well get into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what most of us do, and what I did in the beginning, is I tried to do everything. Okay?
Sure.
And I'm really bad at certain things.
Yeah.
I'm not very organized, right? So I have people that are, okay? So Donna does all the advertising and the marketing stuff.
She's very organized.
She's very organized and she's very good at it and she has very good vision, right? So I defer all that to Donna. So whatever Donna wants to do, that's fine with me. She'll often come to me and say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I say, that's great, you know, because I'm just not that person. So this flies in the face of conventional wisdom, right? When you think, oh man, I got to run my business. I got to be able to do all these things. I got to be able to wear all these hats. If there's something that you do really, really poorly, don't do it.
Good advice.
Buy someone. Well, buy someone. That's a really sad term.
Well, it's kind of what it is.
Put someone in that spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Spend what you've got to spend to make that part work, and then it'll take care of itself.
Sure.
But if you think it's going to work, it'd be like me going out and painting that picture.
Right. It may or may not happen.
I'm not very good at it.
Yeah. So
Right.
recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses. And so what has had to happen as a businessman in your 28 years of running a business to identify your strengths and your weaknesses? Does it have something to do with failure?
Oh, you have to make tons of mistakes.
Right.
Even if you're as good as you can possibly be at anything,
Mm-hmm.
like you're possibly the greatest steak man in all of Canada.
Possibly.
Right. But it's kind of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can't possibly be the greatest steak man and suddenly be welding a stove in the back, right?
Right.
Like, that's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Mistakes in business are blessings.
Yeah.
And we really have to be uninhibited by mistakes, and we have to really accommodate mistakes in our life.
Some of my best connections
Mm-hmm.
and some of my, just the customers that, you know, I will continue to interact with, but
Mm-hmm.
some of the best experiences I've ever had started with everything going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Everything going wrong, right from, you know, the repair
Yeah.
or the purchase or the, hey, something's gone wrong. And you have to take those moments and you have to take those situations
Yeah.
and you have to find a way to turn them into something golden. And it's easy to do.
Yeah, so true.
Right. But I can't tell somebody else how to do that. And I don't think you can teach that to somebody. I
Yeah.
think you have that or you don't have
Right.
that. Right.
Uh-huh.
So
And what do you think having that is? What do you think being able to turn that negative customer experience into a positive experience is? What do you have to do as a business owner that gets that really upset customer into a good place and then potentially your best customer, as you said? What happens?
there has to be a level of flexibility that comes from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be able to not be so rigid that I can't see the solution.
Right.
Okay? So this is why I probably wouldn't work well in a structured formula.
Right.
You know, like a lot of franchises are like that.
Oh, yeah.
And like what you do, very
Sure.
similar, right? It's the cookie cutter thing. And
Totally.
it works really, really well.
Yeah.
They've got the percentages figured out down to the penny.
As long as you can stay in the box.
Right. That's not me. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I've got to be flexible and I've got to be able to make it happen.
Yeah.
I got to be able to spend enough time trying to understand what that situation needs and that other person needs in order to make that happen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A question that we usually ask this question a little bit later in this segment, but I want to ask it now because I want to give this some time to kind of play out.
Sure.
What advice do you have for and I asked you this at one of the breaks, what advice do you have for the would-be entrepreneur who's sitting at a desk, working in the box, pushing paper, working a keyboard, hating their life? They have an idea, they have an itch they want to scratch, they want to go an entrepreneur, they want to go and innovate. What do you say to them? How do you get them to take the plunge?
That's really tough.
Yeah.
But I'll give you my take on it.
Sure.
And I don't know if I'm right. Okay. So let's just
You're
have
probably
fun
not
with this.
wrong. I guarantee that.
We need to be as honest as we can be with ourselves. Okay. We need to try and figure out who we are. Right. Now, I've walked into a sales situation where I've walked in to buy, I don't know, anything. Floor tiles, shoes, shirt, doesn't matter, somewhere. And I've seen someone try to sell and it's just not working. Okay. Now that person obviously doesn't know who they are.
Right.
They took the sales job because they needed a job. So they tried to conform to the task at hand. And that doesn't work. So the guy sitting in the cubicle thinking, oh man, I listened to Cole and Larry and I got this idea. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to set up because those two idiots did it, right?
Yeah,
so, right. It's like, so what I would say is you need to figure out who you are and where you sit. So we're back to this explanation earlier is I'm not organized. So for me to walk into a job interview, bring a resume, and the job is for, I don't know, an accountant, right? Well, that's not me. I can't do it. I can't sit at that desk and do it. So I have to be able to, instead of conforming to the job, so don't make the business be whatever you think. Make the business be whatever you're good at.
Right.
In my case or your case, it just happens that I'm passionate about this one thing and I really like what I do and I chose. So something along those lines,
Yeah.
I think that would work and it would save people a lot of grief.
Sure it would.
Because I went in the wrong direction for 10 years. 8, 9, 10.
In business?
No, just in life.
Right.
I would just walk into a job interview and go, hey, I hear you need one of these guys. Oh man, I can learn.
Right.
Well, I do a lot of job interviews, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet.
So I can tell you that I see people wanting to conform to whatever job we're putting out there. When what I'm really asking them, and often they're stumped by this, so I'll ask them, what are you exceptionally good at? Now, the person's constantly trying to align themselves with the job.
I can relate to this.
No, I don't care. If you're a good guitar player, tell me that. If you're exceptionally good at something, whatever your friends around you see in you, and if they were to point to you and say, that guy's really good at whatever that is, whatever you're exceptional at, do that. Okay, go into that rather than sit around, paddling the canoe the wrong way and going upstream, because it's just a battle. If it's not natural, it's never going to work.
You heard it right there. If it's not natural, it's never going to work. There's something natural about scratching the itch. There's something natural about running a business. A business, big or small, in a lot of ways is the lifeblood of community. It's the heartbeat of economy. Get out there, run a business, be courageous, be like Larry, buy a motorbike, go to Ecuador, take a risk, face your fears. Larry, thank you so much.
Thanks, Cole.
Absolutely amazing. Tune in next week. Ask an Innovator.